Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I record a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you're looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 40 of A Series of Death. Trembor stepped into the bar, already not liking the place. It was the fourth one he'd looked into today, and each one had been worse than the last. As much as he'd hoped for them to be the answer, the cameras proved nothing. He'd found a few store owners willing to let him look over the recordings, but all he'd found was that none of them had captured Bo's cars or a car similar to it. Nothing that confirmed that he hadn't been here. The coverage was too bad to be conclusive. The same happened with that unknown caller. So he'd had to fall back on locating Bo's so-called friends. The only thing he had to go on was when he'd been attacked. He remembered a tigress, a wolf, and a warthog. He'd beaten the warthog. One of them, he hoped that it wasn't the warthog, had been called Bartok, or Barftok, or Barftor, or Braddock, or something similar. He had called in a favor from a friend within the medical clinic network. If anyone with a name close to that had been admitted that evening for clawing injuries, she'd find out. He'd gotten lucky, and she found a Barkin long pounce, a gray wolf that had been treated for a stomach gash. Trevor took the name to his friends within the enforcers, and they found the male who had a record of theft and fights, which had resulted in a temporary drop in his productivity. But he had a steady job now as a security guard in, Trember was not surprised to find out, a gambling house. He didn't ask which one. If it became important, he'd just ask his brother. The other thing his friend got for Trember was a list of Barcon's preferred place to hang out before he'd gotten a respectable job. He was down to a bar that once had had tables and chairs based on the broken pieces piled in a corner. All that was left now was the bar itself and ample space for people to fight in, which was what was going on. A cry went up as a lean jaguar got to her feet, her opponent panting on the floor. Trembor made out some finish him in the cacophony, but she walked away and money changed hands. She took that money and headed for the bar. Trevor tried to determine if the fight had been organized, but with the wolf still on the floor, he decided it hadn't. With the fight over, people looked at him as he headed for the bar. His blazer, button-up shirt, and slacks made him stand out. He should have changed into something less official before coming to this bar, but looking at the stained, ripped pants and shirt and the jackets worn directly over fur and many body piercing, he decided he'd never have managed a look that wouldn't have caused him to stand out. They also looked at him as if he was the prey they'd ordered for their meal. "You lost?" The grizzly behind the bar asked when Tremor reached it. "The highway ramp's right 8 blocks that way." "I'm looking for someone." Tremor replied, "They ain't here." "You don't even know who I'm looking for." The bear leveled his gaze on Tremor and growled slowly, "They ain't here." "His name is Barkon," Tremor said, ignoring the implied threat. "He's a gray wolf. He might be with a tigress." The bear sighed and planted both large hands on the top of the bar. "You looking to die? That why you come in my bar and bother us?" "No, I came here to talk. Him and I began a conversation a while back, and I'm looking to continue it." "And what do you want with old Barker?" someone behind Tremor asked. He turned and was looking at a scarred goat with a crooked muzzle and mean black eyes. On one side stood a tiger who looked barely of predation age, but with enough scars to show he had to be older. On the other side was a lynx with patterns shaved into the fur of the arms she had crossed over her chest, smiling at him. In the back, a gray wolf looked in their direction, eyes going wide in recognition. Trevor ignored the trio. "Hello, Barkin." he greeted the wolf, who stepped forward, accompanied by a deer with broken antlers. You looking to be food? The wolf asked. He looked around, and everyone in the bar was looking at Trembor, a hungry look in their eyes. No, I'm here to ask you to arrange a meeting with your boss. I'd like to discuss the situation with my brother. Friend of yours, Barker? The goat asked. The wolf laughed nervously, which sounded more like he was barking. No. You remember the job that got Fistor being meat? That was him. Are you his boss? Trember asked the goat, figuring there was no way someone like him worked for the gambling house. As far as you're concerned, I am. The goat spat. Trember looked him over. Was he misjudging the kind of people the gambling house employed? He'd expected to find the wolf at one of his old haunts out of habit, not because the others would be like him, except the wolf's expression didn't show deference to the goat. Trevor looked at the wolf. I need to talk to your boss or whoever has their claws in my brother. I want to discuss what it'll take for my brothers to be freed. Listen to me, you overgrown bag of fleas, the goat snarled, and Trember had to still a shudder as he realized he could catch that here. This is my turf. You talk to me. I'll negotiate for whatever you want with whoever needs to hear it. I want a meeting, Trember told the wolf. I'm not wasting time with any back and forth. Time my brother doesn't have. Am I clear? The wolf didn't reply. The goat swung at him and Trember stepped out of the way. I'm in charge. I'm the one you beg for your life, not him. Trember looked at the goat as he put on his hunting glove. He took his jacket off and placed it on the bar. If anything's missing out of it, he told the bear, I'm taking out of your hide. Is that clear? The bear narrowed his eyes at Trember, looked at the gloves, then hung the jacket on a peg. I'm going to guess you guys don't have rules here. Don't break anything, the bear replied. Trember wonders what could be left to break as he looked at the jaguar. Are you going to be a problem? She shook her head. I earned my pay. I intend to live to spend it. She downed her drink and left. The rest of the bar's occupants seemed unsure what to make of him. Trevor figured the usual stranger who came here did so out of fear, and they made quick work of that. He made fist, the new gloves creaking. He'd bought them at the start of the day, figuring it was only a question of time until he had to fight his way out of one of these places. This model prevented his claws from extending. He wasn't looking to spill blood, but the weights in them would give his blows more strength. All right. Who here has the lowest productivity tax? He demanded, and the question caused a handful of the previous angry people to back away. What do you care? The goat asked, looking angrier. Tremor smiled. Because that warthog ended up being more expensive than he had any right to be. I don't want another surprise expense like him. Are you threatening me? The goat demanded. Tremor looked him over. I don't know. He smiled. Barkon, is this smell the cheapest one in the room? The gray wolf glanced at the scarred tiger next to him, and the tiger glared at the wolf in return. It was nice to know that something hadn't changed from his time back among the enforcers. He could always count on criminals putting their own hide first. The goat snarled and stepped toward Trembor. Calic, the bear behind the bar warned. You wreck my bar again, and I'm skinning you if the lion doesn't. Stop shedding over this, Amar, the goat replied, smirking. It'll just be me and the boys. We won't break anything. I can't wait to see the kind of meat that's on those bones of yours. Hopefully there's enough. Trember punched the goat in the face hard. Another thing he could still count on was them posturing instead of fighting. He jumped to the side of the male as the male fell on the floor and then kicked at the tiger, the next to react. The weight in Trember's hunting boots added to the force, and the tiger was on his back, cradling his stomach. Trember blocked the deer's punch, which left him open for Barkon's claws. Seemed like he had no problem shedding blood. He slammed a knee in the wolf's stomach as the claws left heat on his side. Pressure sliding him on the armored back of his jacket had him kick out in that direction, and someone groaned. He blocked another punch from the deer as he turned. The lynx was on the floor, painfully glaring up at him. The goat stood, muzzle crooked and bleeding. and threw himself at Trembor with a yell. Trembor grabbed the deer's arm and pulled him forward to take the impact. It still pushed the lion back, but he kept his footing while the two crashed to the floor. He stepped to the wolf, unsteadily trying to get to his feet, and kicked him in the face. When he turned from that, only the lynx and tiger were standing before him, the goat and deer untangling themselves from each other. The two feline came at him, and he dodged more than blocked as they got in each other's way. They were young, and like most young felines, weren't keen on cooperation. Trembor moved, and the lynx shouldered the tiger out of the way to swipe at the lion. The tiger snarled and pushed her off balance, letting Trembor strike her in the head, and down she went. Eyes wide in fear, the tiger turned to run, but Trembor had him by the collar first and slammed his head down on the bar. Someone who ran was definitely worth less in the eyes of his companions. The tiger was now shoved against the bar. The deer was now shoved against the bar and moving except for his breathing. The goat stood, a snarl on his face. You think you can come in my bar and hurt my... Trembor punched him in the face again and caught his collar as he staggered back, then threw him against the bar. Instead of the expected impact, the goat whimpered. Your bar? The bear growled, holding the goat's head with one large hand. This is my bar. He slammed the head against the counter hard enough it left blood as the body slumped to the floor. What? The bear demanded as Trembor stared at him. You want to take me on for stealing your kill? If he's dead, I'm not. You're paying for him. The bear snorted. I wish. That head of his is all bone. Too stubborn to get killed that way. Trembor nodded, not relaxing. Are you going to give me grief over this? He indicated the people on the floor, groaning and regaining consciousness. The bear looked them over unhappily. You're fine. You tried to do this nicely. If I have someone pay for anything, it'll be Calic. He's always making things worse. He still hasn't paid me back for all the broken furniture. He looks at those who had kept out of the fight. Anyone who bet against the lion, pay up now. Don't make me have to chase you. Trembor tilted an eyebrow. When had the betting taken place? And in a place like this, who had bet on him to win? The bear smiled as he pocketed the bills being handed to him. Barkan looked your way when I asked about his boss. Are you? I am his superior, the bear replied, but that wolf can deal with his own mess. Trembor nodded and turned to the wolf, who tried to scramble away on his back, eyes wide in fear. Trembor grabbed the wolf's leg as he crouched and pulled him forward. Relax, Barkan. I'm not killing you. No one dies here. The wolf nodded, but was still shaking. I want you to tell your boss I want a meeting. I'm just looking to talk about my brother's situation, see if we can resolve it amicably. They can set the place and time, although I need it to be sooner rather than later. I'm sure they'll know why. Once the wolf nodded, Trembor stood and went to the bar. There, the bear was counting the bills. You aren't getting any of it. You didn't place a bet. I just want my jacket. My business here is done. The bear reached back to grab it and handed it to Trembor, who put it on, then carefully went through every pocket. The bear lost his smile in the process. Trembor didn't care. He was familiar enough with his kind not to trust them to keep their hands off what didn't belong to them. Satisfied nothing was missing, Trembor left. That concludes Chapter 40 of A Series of Death. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next one's going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the book as well as the others in the series, they are available at all major e-retailer. If you are looking for a different way to support me, that is on my Patreon. And if you're looking to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.